The wind stopped. The forest was still there, but the sound was gone. Just seconds ago, someone had been walking ahead. Footprints remained. The path didn't break, and yet the person was gone. It was an ordinary day, a national park in the United States. The sky was clear and the air felt calm. A light breeze moved through the trees and the forest breathed quietly. Sunlight filtered through the branches, casting soft shadows on the ground. He walked along a familiar trail, carrying a small backpack. It was a path he had taken many times. There were no dangerous sections and no difficult terrain. His family followed just a short distance behind. They talked and laughed occasionally. It was just another peaceful moment. It felt like a day where nothing could go wrong. He slowed for a moment and turned back to check on his family. They were only a few meters away, close enough to clearly see each other. Then he said, "I'll be right back." It was a simple sentence, nothing unusual. He stepped off the trail, just one step. Then the wind stopped. The forest went silent. The sound of leaves and the sound of footsteps cut off completely. Just seconds ago, everything had been normal. Now there was nothing. It felt as if sound itself had disappeared from that space. An unnatural silence settled in. He stood there. Within seconds, he was gone. There was no struggle and no warning. Just moments ago, he had been there. Now, nothing remained. His family called out to him immediately. They shouted his name again and again. At first, it felt casual. They thought he would return, but as time passed, their voices began to change. They grew louder, faster, and more urgent. Before long, fear began to set in, but the only thing that came back was the echo. They looked around. There was only one trail and very few places to hide. The trees were spaced enough to see clearly between them, and yet he was nowhere. It didn't make sense. It felt impossible. As the minutes passed, fear began to take hold. They realized this was not a joke. A report was made immediately, and search teams were deployed. Police, rescue units, volunteers, and search dogs. The area was secured, and the search began from the last known point. It expanded outward in a careful and methodical way. At first, it seemed like a simple case, someone leaving the trail or getting lost. But as time passed, something felt wrong. At the last known point, footprints were clearly visible. The ground was pressed down and the direction was obvious. He had moved forward, and that part was certain. But after only a few steps, the footprints disappeared. They did not fade, and they were not scattered. They were simply gone. It looked as if they had been erased. Beyond that point, there was nothing. No footprints, no disturbance, and no visible movement. Search dogs were brought in. They were highly trained and experienced. They followed the scent until they reached that exact point. Then they stopped. They refused to move forward. Some stepped back, while others showed signs of distress. There were low whines and uneasy movements. A few dogs barked in completely different directions, but there was nothing there. No person and no trace. The scent was still present, but they would not follow it. They stopped at that exact spot. Days later, the first clue was found. It was a pair of shoes. They were far from the trail, in a place no one would normally go. The shoes were placed neatly. There was no dirt and no damage. There were no signs of panic. They did not look dropped. They looked intentionally placed. The location was several kilometers away. Between that point and the trail, there were steep slopes, rocks, and difficult terrain. It was not a distance someone could cover easily. And yet, there were no footprints, there was no trail, and no sign of movement. Only the shoes remained. More items were found later, but none of them connected. They felt like pieces of a puzzle that did not fit together, fragments without a clear picture. Was this really something a person left behind? This was not a single case. Similar disappearances have happened many times. They occur in national parks, in mountains, and in forests. These are places people visit every day. People vanish suddenly, and trails end without explanation. Objects appear in locations that should be impossible. Search dogs stop, and weather changes without warning. Clear skies turn into fog, and visibility disappears. Different locations, different times, and different people. But the result is always the same. There are too many similarities to dismiss as coincidence. So what is this? Is it a series of accidents or something we do not yet understand? It is the repetition that makes it so unsettling. There are explanations. People get lost and they lose their sense of direction. It happens, but disappearing within a few meters is difficult to explain. In normal cases, there are traces, there is a path and a clear timeline, but in this case, there is nothing. Wild animals are another possibility. However, there are still no signs. There is no struggle, no blood, and no drag marks. So what remains? Some suggest other possibilities: unexplained movement, a shift in space, or something we do not yet understand. These ideas are not proven and there is no confirmed evidence. But when similar cases continue to repeat, it becomes harder to ignore. And that is what makes this case so unsettling. He was never found. The case was closed on paper, but for the family, it never ended. A person gone within seconds. That alone defies explanation. Nature does not always give answers. Sometimes it takes people without a trace. What do you think really happened that day? Maybe it is not that we do not know. Maybe it is something we are not meant to understand. This story ends here, but in the darkness, stories remain. Will you stay for the next one? Dark Case Hub.